Let's go.
Thanks.
Okay, so hey everyone, I welcome you all to today's Meshery development meeting. Today is September 10th. And if you are new to Meshery's development meeting, let me tell you what Meshery is. Meshery is a collaborative platform for help you to manage all your cloud native infra. And you can check out more info about Meshery on meshery.io. Also check out the docs.meshery.io. Meshery is a sensor sandbox project, so we do follow the sensor code of conducts to so we make sure to be respectful to each others. And before starting, we do have a couple of housekeeping items. First, as always, starting with adding your names in the attendees list. So I'll share the link in the chat for you to add the names. And the second is giving introductions. So if you are new to today's call, feel free to unmute yourself, give a quick introduction. Where are you from? And how you joined the Mishri meeting, what interests you in Mishri or anything. So a quick introduction would be really nice. So anyone new today? Aditi, is it your first time today?
No, it's not my first time.
Oh, okay. Okay, looks like most of the faces are familiar. Anyone would like to go?
Hi.
Hey, yeah, let's go with Precious and then we'll go to.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Precious.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi,
Can you hear me?
Lorenzo. Yeah, we can. Lorenzo, let's go to you once we go through the Precious. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Precious, and I am happy to be here. This is my first time here, and I am here to learn and then contribute. I think that's all I have to say about me for now. Thank you.
Thank you. You definitely have an amazing name.
Thank you.
Okay. Lorenzo, would you like to go
Okay,
next?
now I should be able to talk. Yeah, okay, I can hear you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm new. I'm trying to contribute. I am follow the newcomer meeting last week, and now I'm here to hear what's going on. Let's say.
Awesome. Thank you, Lorenzo. I think that's a great start. Anyone else like to go? And I think most of the faces are familiar. Okay.
Hi. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
My name is Fatma. I'm from Egypt, and this is my first time really contributing to open source. And yeah, I'm really excited.
Thank you, Fatma. That's really awesome. We are excited to have you today as well. And anyone else would like to go ahead and introduce? It's a great time to give yourself an introduction and let Mishri maintainers know about you. So if anyone else would like to go. Okay, awesome. I think most of the faces are familiar now. We'll start with our standing agenda items. So let's go with the CLI. I think Matthew is with us. So Matthew would like to cover this part. Would you like to share about any recent update on CLI? Okay.
It might be having some network issues.
Oh, okay. And we'll probably support that to him. Okay, so I'll take it forward. Anyone else like to cover instead of Matthew? Otherwise, we'll move to the UI one.
Yeah, Darshan, you want to
And
give an update on
yeah.
some of the latest happenings on Meshery CTL, Darshan?
Yeah, as of now, we are in need to make a new bat suite for specifically for Meshery system command. As I discussed with Matthew about that, and also I have an agenda item regarding the bug which we encountered when we use Meshery model generate. And also finally, Matthew has a review pending PR, which is for Meshery design lists. I think he even has that in the agenda item. That's pretty much it, I think.
Okay, sorry for that. I've been kicked out from Zoom. I don't know why. It just closed. But yes, I let you share. So here it's the spreadsheet where you will be able to find all Meshery CTL commands and subcommands. In the last weeks, we did not have a lot of changes there, so you can just go on that sheet and be able to see what commands are available. And if you download the repository and make a clone on your laptop, you will be able to try those commands by yourself after deploying the Meshery server and Meshery still. And yes, Darchan was talking about the test related to end-to-end test in with Meshery. There's a lot of pull requests open, but we have some issues. We have found some issues with the commands themselves, so we are doing a back and forth, create a test, fix a little bug, and just validate that everything is okay. And yes, that's on the only update I can give for that today.
Yeah. Any update on the sheet that I should show highlight?
I didn't get what you said.
Anything else that in the sheet that you want me to highlight? Nothing else.
No, there's nothing there. All change, the last changes was already present a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Hey, one thing, Matthew, if you would give this some consideration for maybe for next week, if you have the time for next week, the a healthy exercise would be to scan this roadmap as we try to, as we start to focus on tying off this release. I get to scan it, asking the question from the CLI perspective, did we achieve?
If I'm right, those two things have been done because it's confirmed in my memories, but I need to confirm that. But I did remember there were work done about AKS and EKS in the last months.
Oh, okay. Yeah. As you look at it, there's this spec might, there's something that might be deceiving about this, that I think that before we started this release, we have these commands specifically for these platforms, I believe, but the way in which they're supported is that you need to have the AWS's CLI and Azure's CLI as independent, separate dependencies, separate binaries on your system. And unless I'm misremembering, I think the proposal was to potentially eliminate those external dependencies by integrating with their SDKs.
Yes.
With all this said, I actually, I don't. I mean, just for my part, like it's not even that terrible that like if you're working with AKS or EKS, you're highly likely to have that CLI on your system. And if you don't, by the time that you attempt to run this command, as long as we capture the fact that like, you know, that external dependency is missing and we let people know that, you know, we can't process it without this dependency and, you know, go to this link wherever, you know, to Amazon.com, AWS.com, whatever, to install. I don't know if it's really worth it for us to put in for my part, I would suggest that there are other more important or other areas that we can work on that we will get more, that our users will get more value out of. Like it's generally a one-time setup that this system config command. It's just the one-time setup to allow Meshery to deploy into one of those clusters with one of those providers. People may or may not use the command, first of all. Second of all, if they do, it's a one-time thing. And third of all, if they do, there's some certain percentage chance that they already have those CLIs installed on their system. And if they don't, it's probably not that big of a deal to go grab them and install. If you consider that and then you reflect on how much work it takes us to just make that one-time thing more convenient, it's like, well, versus like time that could be spent on, deep diving into the registry and model generation and, you know, just making that smooth and efficient. And I got just, you know, something you might reflect on as you,
Yes, I think that you've got the point here. Usually, if I'm trying to make requests against EKS or AKS, I would have the CLI related to that cloud provider. So yeah, but yeah, I will take a look and come back in Slack related to this.
Oh, very good. Yeah, there's one I was just going to mark while we were sitting here, and that is that like Nikita is on the Nikita is on the call, and I do mean to embarrass him by saying I think he killed it with these two. So I was just going to mark these as with his name next to it, as well as complete. But again, actually, you can double check my work. Maybe there's something residual that, you know, is incomplete just yet. So, and to your like suggestion and to Ian's suggestion, I'll take the action item to go convert this into a spreadsheet so that, you know, we can work it in that way.
Yep.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Ayan, would you like to cover the UI standing agenda item? I think Ayan is this today.
Yeah, so regarding the playwright test that we used to test the UI, I did update the spreadsheet on our test plan. I'm away from my keyboard right now, so I can't share. But anyways, we are able to update that. The biggest gap we have right now is in the adapters section of that. I'm not sure. It seems like the descriptions are off a older description of this. I think it's in the V8. If you go into that spreadsheet, V8, and the CLI command and the UI tests are in there on your previous sheet. Thanks. Yeah, that doesn't look like it. I don't know if Lee has access to the test plan sheet, or someone can drop it in.
Oh yeah.
Chat.
Yeah, there is. In fact, I think we're on it right now. If Yash, if you're sharing the tabs inside of the sheet, the spreadsheet, like the individual sheets at the bottom,
Okay.
if you were to navigate to the second to the left, yeah, yeah. And okay, that's not it. If you go to the next one over,
I think it's V8. Is there
yeah.
a V? Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, you can scroll down. I did update all the UI ones. Again, there might be some deprecated experiences in there when I was kind of going through them. So I may post on Slack just to kind of get a broader awareness of them. Maybe it's a blind spot in my understanding of the product on some of these flows. But like I was saying, the adapters is going to be the biggest area that we don't have necessarily coverage. And I know in our V8 roadmap, we're looking for like a 50% coverage. I guess if we're looking at the sheets, we could probably, say 50% and define that in, a few different ways. But I think if we chipped away at the adapters, I'd feel more comfortable and be like, yeah, we're there, or, kind of redefine what we want with the adapters. But when I was playing around with that these last couple of days, seems like the adapter flow is a little funky, I guess. You can navigate to the settings, you can go to an adapter, put the port in, put Meshery Istio, and it just has adapter configuring, but then the logs say like error on the back end side. So I'm not quite sure if there's some other configurations I need locally to get that kind of up and running. But I'm just mimicking our GitHub workflow and how that is being set up and run and executed. So I'm not quite sure if it's ready for Playwright testing in that sense. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to bring that up as well. But if anyone wants, go ahead. Sorry, if there's questions on that.
Yeah, just a small pointer in case you're not already doing this. As you go to type in like in the case of the Meshery Istio adapter, if you type in, if you're running this on a Docker host, or if you're running these containers in Docker, then the container name, you should be able to identify the adapter by name, something like Meshery-Istio. And you also have to specify not just the name, but the port number that the adapter runs on by default. And for the Istio adapter, it's 10,000. To be like Meshery-Istio : 10,000. I'll drop into Slack an example of a config of a Meshery CTL config that or a Docker file a Docker compose file that has those references, those host names and port numbers predefined. Like it used to be for the first couple of years of Meshery that like anytime that you just built the project locally in its default like make target, it would include these environment variables for this list of adapter URLs, I think is the environment variable. And it by having those environment variables present, it just made it really convenient when you would navigate to the settings page. The adapters would be, the connections to them would be predefined. And so Meshery would already be looking for that. Meshery server would be looking for them already. But since, a year-ish or more ago, when we stopped shipping the adapters by default, we removed the convenience of those configurations. So yeah, you're having to go over and like type it in. And it might be that, yeah, you can't use just a name that I think, like you were saying, you might have to type in the IP address, but I wonder if maybe the port number is the missing piece in that case.
Yeah, and so when we spin up like a GitHub workflow and we're testing these in like our CI/CD, do we want like to set up a Docker container with like Meshery Istio like running with all that configuration? Is that how the test should work, or should the UI just mock that connection and make sure that it's sending the back end side of things, the right port number and those sort of things? Like how do you see that test working?
Yeah, it's in this. Well, there's two thoughts. That one is the first thing that you said is probably the way to go. Which is to say that like, oh, actually, yeah, in the workflow, there's a Minikube or a K3S or something, a Kubernetes that spun up, a Meshery server that spun up, any number of adapters that are spun up. And part of the reason I say that is to go that path is because for 2 or 3 years, we have those workflows, and they had been running, and they actually deploy a service mesh if that's what the adapter does, and anyway, we go through all those tests, and so those tests, those end-to-end tests, are written differently or not from the perspective of the UI. The second thought that I would offer here, the point of reflection, is like, we have this draft blog post that announces Meshery extensions, that separate org in which all of the adapters have been moved over. I think what I'm about to suggest is kind of the same, is for you to give consideration to something similar to what I was suggesting to Matthew, and that is, maybe it's not worth it. Like, the Istio, most of the adapters aren't really working very well. The Istio adapter works the best. Second to that, it's Linkerd and Cilium, but even at that, they don't fully work. Even the Istio one doesn't fully work. They're sort of stuck in the V07. They never got fully upgraded with the way that they're managing the service meshes. And so I think even if you had all the tests today, which we do, written in a different form, not from the UI, but in a different form, you will find that they are failing, and it requires code change in the adapters to get, you find that they're failing and passing, partially, but that it's code change and bugs that would need to be fixed. And I guess what I'm just suggesting is like, maybe there are other places to focus on. It's not that if we could snap our fingers, we would certainly have those tests and certainly upgrade the adapters to be compatible with the latest version of Meshery. But my fingers don't snap that way, or mine don't. But
Maybe in the test sheet I could put maybe some asterisks by them that we're bookmarking them for a little bit later, and kind of give a clear signal that if someone's going to pick those up from the community, that these might be lower priority, kind of buggy, frustrating experiences for someone new to the area of playwright testing, and kind of move on from there. Would that be a good short-term kind of into that?
Yeah, again, for my vote, like resoundingly so. And it's a highly appropriate thing to include in a release announcement, to say that these are deprecated. That extension point is still supported. There's a gRPC interface. You can still write adapters to do any number of things, against that gRPC interface. So I'd love to help you craft that message, to say that the extension point is still supported. You can do things behind it. The current set of adapters have moved over to this other org. As part of that, just implicit to them being in the extensions org means X amount of support. And actually, to very prominently, I think in part is what you're saying, is like really prominently actually mark them as either, I don't know, I hesitate, I wouldn't say deprecated, but just kind of like you're saying, limited support, and there are known, compatibility issues, or to mark them as compatible with Meshery version 7. I'd like to be quite clear, because the worst thing that can happen out of all of this is that a user comes over and gets frustrated, and we already knew they were going to have a problem. So yeah, so Yash is signaling it's time to go on to the next topic.
And just the other topics on my mind are, I know there's an AI integration with another open source platform. I don't know, I played around with it the other day. I don't know if we want this forum to discuss that, or do a smaller a core team meeting later this week or next week.
Naman, you want to speak to that?
Regarding the Kappa AI, so basically they have shared a demo for it, and like they've asked for a review. They basically provide some AI assistant tools for like your Messery docs or Slack. We were thinking to adapt it for any of it wherever it works best.
I wonder if that's something you might be able to demo, to tell us what you know about it, like what
Okay,
what-
yeah. Wait, I'll share my screen to demo.
any caveats that you're aware of so that Ian can make the right decision. If there's some rate limiting or like some, like how far does that open source plan take us?
I'll update on it. I don't have the complete knowledge, like how far can it go, because it depends on the further discussion with Kappa, their side. So I'll update that along with it.
Good demo. You got maybe you can circle back to a demo today on it. Send out the.
Oh yeah, I can circle back. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, be great.
Thank you, Lee. And okay, Naman, we'll circle back to you. Can just add as a note if it is not already here, just to make sure we don't forget. Okay, so let's start with topics. And Aditi, would you like to go next? We have Aditi today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to share out your update, night of load testing tool updates? You can share your screen.
So I was working on the makeup text code generator tool. It wasn't producing any results till now. In order to do so, I built a binary. Invoice main Nighthawk repo, but the version was 3.0, which was not mentioned in any of the releases yet. And for testing, and as suggested by Nikita, I added these binaries in the server log. And initially, it wasn't producing any results. I did some modifications in the load test interface file. First is the change in the mutex, and added some logs, checksum. Also updated the URL parsing and changes the address from auto to v4. Currently, my Nighthawk server is working fine in producing results from the site I pass. But these updates are not much visible in the UI side. My output transform binary isn't working till now. So how could I do it further? I'm looking for suggestions.
Thank you, Aditi. Nikita, do you have any
Nikita might
feedback for her? Yeah, okay.
So what's the issue right now? Like, I mean, like, so you mean that like Nighthawk is working fine, yeah, but like you do not receive like actual anything like from it, yeah?
Yeah.
Did you try to debug it like
I'm not
locally?
getting any result.
Did you try to debug it like locally to just like go line by line like in the debugger and to check like what's returned from a Nighthawk and like where is the issue? Where do we start to get the issue?
Yeah, I tried to do that and it's producing results, but it's unable to transform it into Nighthawk acceptable format.
So you have
It's
results
very-
yet, but so like I mean, like, yeah, so there should be like a point where we not receiving something like, or where's results like I just like overwritten like or something like that. Like, so can we identify this point and yeah, so then we can like move from it, because like there is like, or like Nighthawk binary is like producing like is working like incorrectly because we sending maybe we like sending incorrect values to it, like, yeah, or like somewhere later on, like when our library which is like working like this transform part, so maybe the issue is in it. So previously issue was in Nighthawk itself, because like Nighthawk was old, and like when we added log to it, when we added logs, when we outputted logs of Nighthawk itself, it was like an error. I think like I posted this error in the issue itself. So right now, like, can you please like try to add output of a Nighthawk binary to a local file, run on your local, and then check like if you have any errors?
Yeah, but I'm working on Nighthawk service and output transform file binary. Like service binary is working fine. It is producing all the parameters fine, but
Okay.
the output transform isn't right now.
And can we debug transform, like, is it like our like go like route it, or it is also like a transform which is from Nighthawk? Yeah, I would rather try to look into this part. So if the issue is in transform, then you can try to do the same like with a transform. Transform is a different binary, or it is the same binary?
Nikita, let's do one thing. Maybe let's do the debugging part on the slide. If that PR requires more of debugging, that helps. Anything else, Nikita? Aditi, would you like to cover? And we can continue this discussion on the slide.
This was the active.
Thank you. I will encourage you both to start the discussion on slide. I'll share this. Okay, I think Shama is not with us. Also, the update is on the fixed typo, so I'll probably skip this for now. If you want to share updates, Shama, if you are if he joins in the meeting, you can give that update on the chat, and we'll check out the PR. For now, I'll move to Matthew. Matthew, is this item you already covered during the CLI thing, or you would like to cover?
Not yet. Can you just share? I don't want to be
Okay.
out. So here, there I found a bug with the Meshery stl design list command, where when we were running the command, it was displaying the first 25 rows, and then it was just skip. It was ending there. So I just modify the logic. There were an existing function that was doing the list pagination on server side. So I just modify that, and also they were missing page size, flag, etc. So I just use that. So if someone can review that and see if everything is okay.
Any question for Matthew? Abid, Lee?
Man, I was so busy in a different conversation. I could have. Yeah, I mean, the page size support is certainly nice to have. There's a certain number of REST API features that are fairly common to every single noun that every single construct that we have in the system. And so something like this page size is hopefully you would find that it's universally supported across any of the constructs that we have in Meshery CTL, like a performance test or I struggle to think of or an org or a, and so yeah, those are, I mean, that's quite nice. And you might be able to handle it in something of a centralized way, just to the extent that it's to be expected. Like if you find that there isn't page size support on any of the commands that on any of the REST APIs that we have commands for, then we probably need to go support it. Just as a random
I
example.
think that for the list part, it's supported everywhere. I'm not sure for all the commands, but yes.
And then, and I can't, Matthew, I apologize. I kind of missed but the gist of what you were saying here is that there's a decent, that this is part of your refactoring to like, to uniformly,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. There were, if we come back a couple of months ago, we have the list command where it will re-implemented for each Meshery commands, and I started work to centralize this in one function. And in the first version, it was just fetching all the data from Meshery server and display the list. But for designs where we have thousands and thousands of items, it was not working because it took too much time to fetch all the data. So I make a second version where it support also pagination from the server side, and I just uh, take that word and apply it to a list command. But I think that we can do the same thing for other command available.
One of the other points of feedback that I have, and this might be a third rendition for you, or maybe it's something that you start to include now, but it's the idea that we're being schema driven, or rather that the CLI would readily know, just for example, if one of the REST APIs supports pagination because it's defined in the schema as something that is supported, and that if we're being schema driven in how we approach interfacing with these constructs, that well, that we would be Meshery, just like the UI, but Meshery CLI would be importing the design construct at version V1 beta 1. So Meshery CTL supports designs of that are defined at this schema version. And yeah, I'm not sure how far if we've really gotten very far in our CLI development from a schema perspective. I guess, Nikita, you've taken a foray into this, right? With the Meshery model Meshery model build.
Yep. But yes, it's something that we need to work on, because I think it's the only command currently that uses schema-driven part.
Yeah. And there'll be the occasion where we do end up needing to, like, and this happened not too long ago, and it's actually for the topic that we were discussing with Ian. I don't know if he's on. Oh yeah, he is. Or no, he's not. Part of the reason the adapters don't support version 8 of Meshery is because they are on an older schema version of models, components, and so forth. And the adapters and the CLI may at some point need to support two versions, maybe at the same time, maybe, or at least just for enough of a time duration that people can upgrade from like an old version of how the design is defined to the newer version. And all I'm trying to do is highlight that if we are being schema driven, if we are referencing these constructs by their schema version, then that thing becomes possible. We can support both at the same time, or we can facilitate an upgrade path. So anyway, there's something to reflect on as you like I was saying, it might be a third revision of, like, just for example, how the list subcommand is approached. I don't know, and Nikita, any pointers just as you think about how that might be done? So we're generating, client side scaffolding, Abid, from the schemas repo with each release. Like, is that,
Yeah.
what do you guys think?
So like from each schema release, we generate the structs for Golang, and for JavaScript, we generate the types, and we also generate kind of like the API endpoints for the JavaScript to communicate with the server. And yeah, that's right, mostly what we generate, like the structs for Golang and types for JavaScript and the API endpoints. And also there are some like kind of like helpers that that are not generated but kind of like centralized inside the schemas that are useful, like if you want to generate some constants and other things. But yeah, that's mostly the kind of scaffolding that we have right now, auto-generated.
So there might be.
So yeah, like yeah. So one of the refactoring that can be done here is like to not use any hard-coded structs or any structures, just using them directly from schemas, because like from the schemas there we already defined like the requests and payloads and response for each of the API endpoints, which are basically what Meshery ends up hitting. Like it just communicates with the Meshery server, so we can directly use those structs for the requests and responses. And like so basically like there shouldn't be any structs directly in Meshery CTL, or even in Meshery they should be kind of imported from schemas.
Thank you, Abid, Matthew. Any other suggestion for Matthew?
Nothing from.
Yeah, also like another thing that might be actually helpful with the Meshery CTL is like kind of the same thing that we do in UI with the forms. Like we use a library called RJSF to auto-generate the forms. Now we don't need to use any library here, but like in places where we are accepting input from users, we also give a like for all of our Meshery commands, we would give some help text. So that text can actually also come from schemas, because like whenever like in the schemas where we define a schema for something, we'll also define like what type of the field is and what's like a description for it, and also sometimes an example. So all of those can be directly plugged from the schemas and shown to the user whenever we are creating those commands. So and like all of those things get centralized inside the schemas and then can be used in different clients. And Meshery is kind of just another client to interact with Meshery.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matthew, Abid. Okay, so I'll move forward with the next item. Darshan, would you like to share about your update on the model build bug? Oh,
Yeah.
you can go ahead and share this.
Yeah, so there's a command called, I think Matthew knows about this. Initially, we had issues with this command, Meshery model generate. Before we had a silent error issue with this. Right now, what happens is that this command can use, it has certain flags that one is URL, shown here URL, and the path to the template file. Similarly, URL with the template and the register command flag. So when I try to use the URL and the template, a valid template to generate the model, it would actually show, even though if there's any model, any components on or relationships in that, it would show up this error, which is, there's empty components and relationship files in that. So as of now, I've fixed that because initially what was happening is that it was reading the template file instead of the URL file, URL link. So for now, the URL works with the template, but now with the register, I think this still reads this command specifically when register flag is used, it reads the empty template file. Yeah, that is the bug I found out for this. Also, regarding the registry command, registration flag, the thing is when we use dash out, which is dash register, it actually skips registration rather than actually registering it. So the naming convention is different here. So let's say there's an empty field here, no register, then this would actually um, register. But when I use dash R, it doesn't register. So it's a little confusing in that sense. But yeah, these are the 2 points or issues I found out.
Yeah, yesterday when I was checking, I have the same feeling that this register flag is not well implemented. I think that it should be renamed skip register instead of register because it was it's doing in background.
Right. And also I think the point of this command is to generate and also to, I think, save it, right? But when I use this, right, nothing is saved actually. Even if I go to the logs, there's no logs. Like for example, when you use registry generate, that actually saves the file to the mesh models. But in this, I don't know if I'm missing something or not, but in this, I think there is no actual generation, more of a validation that, yeah, this model does have components and it generates that. Like it says, yeah, there is one component in this model like this.
Do you guys know that? Okay. Awesome. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the issue I had. That's it. I've pulled a
Good
PR on
question.
this. Yeah. So, yeah.
Any other feedback for Darshan?
We can
Nothing like it. I'm saying like
go ahead, Adib.
problem. Yeah, I was saying like inside our nightly workflow that generates model. I think this is command that gets run the registry generate, right?
No, this is
Like,
not
did you check
registry.
like if that's working?
The registry generate, yeah, that works. The registry
So
generate works, but this
okay,
model
this is
generate doesn't.
model generate. Okay,
Yeah,
so
this
it
model,
takes a
not registry.
template file and generates an empty model, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like there was another command like model build and model init. I'm not sure like where this one comes into play. Then like there's the model init that creates an empty model, and there is a model build that takes that model and converts into a tar. So I'm not
Right,
sure like
right.
why this one comes into play when using
Yeah,
a
I
template.
couldn't figure out the point of this command. Yeah, but that's the only, yeah, that's what I figured out. I think the point of this is that it takes a template file, a valid template file, and then takes a URL and makes a model out of it. But for now, I think that's the point of the command, but that there's nothing saved. Like we can't see any file generated from the URL and using the template file.
Okay, yes, there's
Yeah, I think yeah.
the spreadsheet is a good place to go to look to see like what commands sort of cover what areas. It won't offer a ton of detail, but there's a separate central design spec, a long Google Doc that does and describes them, quite a lot. For some of the later commands, I don't know that that central design spec was updated. Sometimes contributors created a separate one, an independent one just for that command. So you might, I mean, yeah, if you guys, yeah, go search because it either is specified in a design spec or it's specified in an issue, like what the genesis of this command was and what its purpose is and why it's there.
Yeah, that's it for my side.
Thank you, Darshan. Thanks for this. For now, I'll skip my item. Lee, would you like to cover your playground provider proposal? I'll come back to mine.
Sure. Yeah, and actually, Abid, do you want to do this one, or you want me to?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Wait, yeah.
Okay, so yeah. Yeah. So this proposal is regarding the playground, the place. I think most of you are familiar with the Meshery's playground, is where mostly you guys work and sorry, playground.meshery.io. So the proposal is like, I think maybe I will give a bit of background. So like Meshery works with these providers. So like Meshery kind of integrates with any provider that you can provide to it, like give it to it. And there are like different kinds of providers. Like one's like a remote provider, which gives you persistence. So these providers are used to give you like an identity, so user accounts and persistence. And also like when you are like using Meshery locally, you might not use a provider, and there is kind of a one that's bundled inside Meshery. So that's called a local provider. So all of your changes would stay locally to your server when you're running as like Meshery. And then the remote provider is like basically like remote, so it's like somewhere else, maybe in some cloud, and it gives you persistence and user accounts. And you can like this is kind of an extension point to Meshery, so you can create your own provider, like bring your own provider and use that with Meshery to achieve these things. So because now like that playground is like an hosted environment, we directly can't use our own local provider, because then it's kind of a big security risk. Everybody would join the same server and would be able to mess with any other designs and all of the work, and also nothing would be saved, so that would be lost whenever we refresh the server, because the local server is kind of transient. It just uses a local SQLite database. So we end up need to use a remote provider on the playgrounds to give you a better experience and a secure experience. And the proposal here is to kind of like, right now we use like right now, actually, like we have a couple of providers. So in here, like if you go to play.meshery.io to like launch the playground, you will be shown this screen like to which provider you want to use with your session. So you see a couple of these are right now like not available, and some are available. So this is the one that's kind of like the provider is backed by layer 5. So the cloud.layer5.io. So if you launch playground, this link for playground, you would be like using the layer 5's provider, and all of your user accounts and persistence would be handled from there. As like the playground is like part of Meshy, so we want to be like clear to our users and anybody who's using playground, like where their data is going and like which provider they are using. So we don't want to be any sneaky here. So that's why like this was kind of the attempt to show like which provider they would be using, and like kind of which playground they would be using. So right now there's still kind of like with CNC, we're not clear like how to actually do it. And like since last time, like when we are trying to get into incubation, where I got some feedback to like kind of sometimes like be more explicit, and like when we are like what part is from coming from layer 5, what's from Meshery, and what's from like some other third party provider. So the proposal right now is to have like when you would launch your Meshery playground, you would be greeted with a screen like to directly from your playground to choose like which kind of provider you would be selecting. So there will be like there might be one from layer 5, and there might be, now the proposal is to also have kind of a one Meshery, so a remote provider with from Meshery. So there will be now like inside this screen you would get kind of like two providers to choose. Like one would be like layer 5 and one would be Meshery. So as you would choose one of your provider, you would be like basically using that, and your experience and everything would be handled by that provider, and your persistence and everything would be handled. So if you do Meshery, then it's the Meshery will handle everything for you. And if you choose layer 5, then you can use kind of the one that you're already using here. So this kind of like, then after that you would like all of the everything would be handled by that, and would be kind of like explicit, like this is the provider you are using, and everything would be handled by just that single provider. And this would be the place where you can come back and choose a different one. I think my network might be slow, there might be something else, but yeah, that's kind of mostly the proposal. Lee might add something to it, or any other questions.
Yeah, on my part,
So like
probably
so like and the playgrounds, and we'll have like a different database completely, like compared to layer 5.
Yeah, that's kind of like, we might not actually have a different database, or maybe we would have, but kind of like it would be separate, like between like the experience would be different. Like it would be based on the provider that you select, but the database base might be shared or not. Like whichever service we would use, we might share the database with it. But like yeah, actually I'm not clear like whether like we're not sure like whether the database would be shared or not. But yeah, it might be or it might not be. Like there's issue like if we have different database, then like the user accounts would be different, and then it would become hard for users like to know like which one they are using, and they would every time need to create a new account and like that, and that would hinder user experience. So probably would have the same database.
Thank you, Abid. From my part, I think I probably need to see it more. I missed half of the part, maybe because I might not able to visualize it. Visualization might help
Yeah,
me
so
with
actually, yeah,
personally.
like sorry, like the provider UI would be kind of the same that we have, like that the one you get on local, like when you are running mesh locally, you would see that provider UI like where you select the provider. So basically, the proposal is to have the same here also, rather than auto selecting a provider that we do right now. There would be that UI here also.
Okay.
So basically, the same provider UI that we have in Meshery. I might actually show that.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I don't have any question right now. Anyone else have any question for Abid?
For my part, I think that there's a number of considerations to contemplate about this change, and that we should write it down into a proposal, and so people can stew on it, write down what those factors are and the considerations are, and send it out to the developers at Meshery.io mailing list. So if you're on the call and you're interested in this topic or any other Meshery dev topic, subscribe to the mailing list is my recommendation. But yeah, the part of the ongoing struggle with this area is unintentionally contradictory feedback from the CNCF TOC on what type of an experience to offer to users. And so I'll itemize that contradiction in a proposal, or I will help Abid do that. Yeah, so that it's there's some good things to come. So for Yash specifically, like there's some potentially good things to come out of this where Yash has been in part responsible for the Meshery catalog, the one on Meshery.io. And part of the proposal will hopefully bolster that or improve that and maybe empower Meshery maintainers even more. And so, but again, we'll articulate that in an email. But I encourage you guys to question it, to beat it up. Like we keep getting different feedback and kind of flip-flopping back and forth. And so hopefully we'll, get it right. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, Lee. I'll definitely wait for the mail. Thank you, Abid. Any other question for Abid? We are already up to the time, so. Okay, awesome. I'll share the screen. Thank you, Abid. Okay, so we are already on time. Anything else which is urgent we should cover from the remaining agenda list, or we should cover? Otherwise, we'll cover the next week. I'll wait for 5 more seconds.
Nothing from me.
Okay. Thank you, Abid. From my side,
Also-
I skipped the part. Yeah, sure.
Just to announce, every Thursday we hold a newcomers meeting. So make sure to join us in that. Even if you are a newcomer or have been contributing for a while, it is a perfect place to get started, and you'll get many good first resources there. So yeah, please join us. It happens every Thursday.
Thank you, Naman. Yeah, definitely join the newcomers meeting. I joined my first newcomers meeting as well. Well, from my part, I have a small update, which was like a Hacktoberfest is coming, and I should write Hacktoberfest, not Hacktober. Hacktoberfest is coming, and I'm part of the team, and about like Meshery has been contributing in the Hacktoberfest for the past years, and I think we should start planning for upcoming Hacktoberfest. And let me know how can I support Meshery during this by events or anything. There will be a lot of things going to happen in the upcoming October, so we'll encourage community managers to maybe we can start planning before October, and I can help with so that we can align on that and I can help with as much as possible. Since I also will be engaged with a lot of things, so I'll try to be helpful before I. Yeah, that's all from my side. And yeah, let me know anything I can help.
Man, we've got an inside man. Oh, that is great. Cool. Okay. Yeah, it's only a few weeks away, so.
Yeah. Okay, thank you everyone then. It was a lovely meeting. Thanks for all the updates and see you next week, next Wednesday. Till then, have fun. Enjoy your week. Bye.
Thanks, Josh. Bye, guys.